Pro Beez, delighted to be joined by a man I used to watch on the box, scoring goals for my beloved Arsenal and former Arsenal legend, Kevin Campbell. How are you?
How you doing, Pro? You're good, man. I'm good myself. Listen, this lockdown's the lockdown, and it's difficult for people. But do you know what? I'm surviving. Everyone's got to survive it, mate. Keep a smile on your face.
You're damn right. It is difficult. I mean, for me, my two beloved sports shut down, football and boxing, has meant I've had to play a bit more FIFA. You know, maybe that's the plus side. I don't know.
Well, I don't play FIFA. I'll leave that to you guys. But I found that the online stuff for me has just gone crazy because people have time and stuff like that. Obviously, the demand is always there now. So if people know you're around, they ask the question, and you might as well keep yourself busy. So that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping myself busy online.
Interesting. You know, I mentioned you being an Arsenal legend. I just remember the days of you and Ian Wright up front, terrorizing defences. And, you know, nowadays for Arsenal, we've got Lacazette and Aubameyang terrorizing defences. But as per usual with Arsenal, they're finding it difficult to pin down their players. Now, lots of talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang potentially leaving. Obviously, his contract is running down. He's only got 12 months to run. This is a bit of a sticky situation for Arsenal, who've also suffered a similar thing with other players before. Ramsey, Fabregas, the list goes on. Nasri. What's happening, Kevin? Talk to me.
To me, it seems like they haven't learned their lesson. We've seen it happen time and time again. And especially after the Sanchez and Ozil situation. You know, we were saying that it should never get to that point again where one of your top players gets to 1 year left of his contract. You know, you should really start negotiating from 2 years out so he re-signs or you get rid with like 18 months to go. Arsenal haven't done that. We lost Ramsey to a free contract. So, you know, again, haven't learned the lesson. I think Aubameyang, who's captain now, is all into Arsenal right now. But I don't think the club have handled it very well. And the Lacazette's at a year as well. He's only got a year left after this season. So two players you've spent big money on are going to go down to 12 months. It's bad management. It's bad running of the football club. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta is going to be asking a few questions. What's going on, guys? You know, because I've got two great players, and there's an opportunity, there's a possibility I could lose them.
You mentioned these Lacazette and Aubameyang. I mean, two players with the value in excess of 100 million. Something that Arsenal can't lose now. We've got this whole situation where the league is at a dead standstill. Clubs are not getting the money through the gates. But to potentially lose two assets is, from many Arsenal fans, very, very hard to take.
Yeah, but listen, as a football club, it'll be crazy. We know we've got love for the club. We know that. We want only the best for Arsenal. But Arsenal's a business. And you cannot have an asset just depreciating as you go through, and then you lose it for nothing at the end. So it's either one of them's going to go, minimum, because Arsenal cannot afford. I don't think they can afford, because Mesut Ozil's not going anywhere. Arsenal cannot afford to do what they're doing without losing one of them. I'd love them to change a little bit and play them two boys up top. Get that partnership going. I'd love that. But I can't see it happening. Mikel Arteta's got a certain way of playing, more of a 4-3-3. Aubameyang's the main guy. He's the main goal scorer. So there might be some moving and shaking with Lacazette, I think. But I don't want to lose Aubameyang, but if he won't sign a contract, we're going to have to sell him.
Well, you know what? Top strikers are in short supply in world football. Top defenders are in short supply in world football. But when you talk about the importance of Aubameyang, I mean, I can't give you a number on the percentage of his goal value to Arsenal, but it is so almost one-sided. When you look at how many goals he scored this season in comparison to the other players, it's a massive void that they might be losing.
Yeah, look, again, he's the main guy. He's your main goal scorer. And he's, 31 at the moment? So he'd be good for another 2, maybe 3 years, I reckon, Aubameyang. You know, he'll be top striker. That's what Mikel Arteta needs. If we're being ruthless, we need to build around him. We need to start getting Martinelli up to speed. But do you know what he really shouts out to me? We need goals from other areas.
Yeah,
we need
yeah.
Pepe on double figures. We need the midfielders chipping in with 5 to 10 goals a season. Then we'll have a squad who is offensive, and then obviously he can get the pieces at the back to shore up that. They're talking about Partey in the midfield, etc. That will help defensively, but we've got to win games. That's the bottom line. We've got to win games, and losing the likes of Lacazette and Aubameyang will not do us any good.
Let's talk about from a point of view from Aubameyang, all right?
Yeah.
You have, since you've signed, been scoring goals consistently. Arsenal have not been in the Champions League for one reason or another. For me, simply defensively, Arsenal haven't got it right. I'm going to tell the truth, right? I'm going to just call it out. So you've done your job as a striker, banging the goals. One game for me that particularly signified, right? The problem is when he scored that extra time winner against Olympiacos. You've done your job. You thought you've won the game for Arsenal, and then we go and concede a criminal goal at the back.
He equalised, didn't he, on the night? He equalised on the night. You think that's it, and we couldn't even hold out for the last few minutes. But that's been Arsenal's Achilles heel, going back even to some of the times with Arsene Wenger, at the back end of Wenger's time. Under Emery, we suffered a bit like that as well. End of last season, where there was 8 games to go, Champions League spot in our hand, and we couldn't get it done. Then we get into the Europa Cup final, and couldn't get that done. Get battered by Chelsea. So all it does is, we just keep regurgitating the same players, the same stuff. Now we've had our 3rd manager this season. We've seen a little bit of improvement under Arteta, but if we're really honest, he needs to clear the decks, because there's players now who are starting to kind of perform under Arteta who we know ain't good enough. So we've got to be ruthless. I want Arteta to have that ruthless streak in him and cut people and get the right bodies in. Fair enough if he says to himself, you know what, I'm going to keep Aubameyang and Lacazette, and I'm going to get all the other pieces in first, and then we're going to try and build up for next season and then negotiate with them. I get that. I understand. But we've got to get rid of the deadwood. The deadwood are doing the club no good.
As a former Arsenal player, obviously, you analyse the games quite closely. And we're talking about the defensive record. I mean, you saw some great defenders in your day. I mean, the likes of Tony Adams. I mean, I just remember that moment against Everton when he lifted his arms up off that goal. And we've had Sol Campbell since. There's been Koscielny in. But Arsenal generally seem reluctant to get in a top-class centre-back. I mean, they always are prepared to spend up front. But why is it Arsenal spend quite cheap at the back?
I think Arsenal for years have had it really good defensively, because when you look at that famous back 5, back in my day, Nigel Winterburn cost hardly anything, Dixon cost hardly anything, Bold cost hardly anything, Adams was homegrown. So, and you had that as your mainstay for years. Then you start adding in a few. You had Sol Campbell for nothing. Lauren comes in, and Kolo Toure was hardly anything. Ashley Cole was homegrown. So really, that understanding and that defense, you've never really had to go out and really put your neck on the block for a big name signing. Arsenal just don't do that. They'll pay, as you said, for the strikers and the midfielders, but they won't pay for the defense. Now we're going to see where Mikel Arteta's coming. We paid 30 million for Saliba last summer, which I think is really good business. But you know as well as I do, one ain't enough. We need another one. And what's there at the moment? I'm not so sure. I'd love a Upamecano, or there's a couple of French guys who they're talking about. I'd love someone who... The centre backs have to play 2v2 at some stage of the game, because that's what creates the overload when your fullbacks move forward. Right now, we can't play 2v2 because we just don't have the legs at the back. So that's going to help us. Arteta knows what he wants. Will he be back to deliver? Bro, I don't know.
Interesting. You know, a lot of speculation about Aubameyang and Chelsea. Now, what is the lure for Aubameyang to go to Chelsea? I mean, Chelsea added Ziyech to the armory up front. Amazing player in last season's Champions League. That's going to improve the side. I think, for me, Chelsea got the basis of a good side anyway. Just one or two additions, and they could be challenging once again. And even Man United as well. Man United have put together a crop of good young players. And for them, it looks like they've got some sort of 5-year plan ahead of them. Whereas Arsenal look like they have to try and rebuild again and again.
Look, Arsenal have been in rebuild mode now for how long? 3 years? This is our 3rd year out of the Champions League. We're in rebuild mode. And I believe the rebuild mode is going to take another spin because of obviously what's happening, the economy rise right now. But one bit of shining light that we've got is the youngsters coming through. Look, we could talk about Chelsea. Chelsea, by default, Frank Lampard has had to blood a lot of those youngsters. And the youngsters have delivered, to be honest. They've done really well. Man United have got a good crop of youngsters coming through who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is helping them come through. Obviously added Fernandes, who's a very good player. But, you know, they're going to try and mix and match the quality with the youngsters. I think Arsenal are going to have to do the same. Arsenal really have a good crop of youngsters coming through who are only going to get better after this season. Now, how Mikel Arteta's going to do it, I don't know. Like I say, there's a lot of deadwood there that he's got to get rid of. I'd rather him bring in players who a lot of people don't know, and we become a team. I think a team, because Sheffield United, for instance, are showing the likes of Arsenal and a lot of these clubs up.
One of the best defensive. Yeah, in the Premier League.
You know, and who are they? Who are their names? You know, they're showing us up. So Chris Wilder's done a fantastic job at Sheffield United. Building that team, that's what we need. We need a team. And I think Mikel Arteta is going to work on that team. We need that team. He's going to work on that team. And anybody who's not, he don't want as part of it, get rid of them and get bodies in who are going to play for that badge.
But should Aubameyang be tempted by the little Chelsea? I mean, they seem to be. I mean, there's talk of Chelsea even get Coutinho. I mean,
look,
that's
Coutinho would want to come. Coutinho would want to come to Arsenal. Come on, look. If anybody in their right mind, I know Chelsea can pay and all that kind of thing, but as clubs go, there's only one club that they should be going to, because Arsenal have been in the doldrums. You know, it's difficult to lure players. But now Mikel Arteta's there. I think he's a manager who players will want to come and play for, because they understand he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. He knows what is required. He's been there with Pep. So, you know, they might want to come to Arsenal and get a mini Pep blessing from Arteta. So that's what I'm thinking. He can lure them. But what we need is we can't bring these players in if we don't have the plan. Because I truly believe Sanchez and Ozil came in and there was no plan for them. You know, Aubameyang and Lacazette came in and there was no real plan for them. I think now there has to be that plan and it has to be put forward. If I was Mikel Arteta, I'll sit Aubameyang down and I'll explain to him what the plan is. This is how we're going to move forward. This is how it's going to go. And you're the head man. That's all you can do. Put it to him. Now, if he's being coveted by other clubs, then, you know, is it going to be the highest bidder, or you don't want him? You don't want him in the Premier League scoring for Chelsea or Man United. You'd want to sell him. You'd want to sell him away. abroad.
Hey, you talked about other teams. I mean, Van Persie playing for Man United. I mean, that at the time, for many Arsenal fans, would say that was criminal. I mean, the way Van Persie scored a hat-trick in his first game, the way
We've seen,
Arsenal fans were upset that day, I remember that.
bro. Well, listen, we've seen it time and time and time again for Arsenal. It's not just that they're talking about Adebayor, Nasri, all of these guys. You know, we've got rid of some top talent, and for what? Never really replaced a lot of these guys. Arsenal need that plan. Arteta needs that plan, and you need the buy-in. You need the buy-in from your big players. You need that buy-in. The big player right now is Aubameyang. If Aubameyang buys in, then you're in with a great shout. And I think Arteta can do it. I think he could convince him to stay, but he has to have that plan right.
Hey, one last question to you. As Mikel Arteta says, do you have the drones?
Have the drones, mate. Go and have the drones. Definitely have the drones.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Pep Talk, Kevin Campbell. Keep it locked. Stay home. Only go out for essentials. Pep Talk, Kevin Campbell. Subscribe.
Nice one.